What is up, guys? Winner Kills here, and welcome to a brand new test hand video for pure Mekk-Knight. If you guys are starting to see a lot of more pure Mekk-Knight stuff, I mean, I guess in duels particularly, maybe test hands as well, is because this is a deck that I'm trying to sort of pound into my brain, embed its combos, its play styles, its worst and best matchups, because this is a deck that I'm probably going to end up taking to YCS Niagara Falls later this month, actually like in like a week or so, or week and a half or so, something like that. And I really just want to start honing in on this deck because I feel like it has a ton of potential. And someone messaged me on Facebook the other night saying that they actually got first place at a Catskill Regionals, which is somewhat near where I am. It's a bit of a ways away, but they actually ended up getting first place there with Mekk-Knight. And it inspired me even more and drove me even more to be better with this deck and just play it more and just learn it more. It was interesting, his build. So in this video, apart from doing test ends, I'm also going to be talking about ideas that I've had with this deck, other card choices, things that I'm still on the fence about, and things like that. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll do like five or so test hands, 5 or 6 test hands. And one thing I want to mention is a quick shout out to our lovely sponsor at Imperium Duelist. You guys know they've been the sponsor of this channel for quite some time, providing some amazing sleeves, playmats, dice, calculator cases, everything essential you need to up your game, you know, mat, sleeve wise, things like that. Help you be more prepared for tournaments, tournament ready sleeves, or if you're playing more casual, some effect sleeves, or if you want to put them in your collection, things like that. They are the sponsor of this channel, and if you guys want to help support me and help save some money on some of these purchases, you can check out the link to the website down in the description below and use that discount code WinnerKills10 off to save 10% off your entire order. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. I've already shuffled the deck quite a bit prior to starting, but I'm going to shuffle it just a little bit more because, again, the curse of the camera could strike at any moment. But yeah, we're just going to go ahead and shuffle the deck here. Now, I have made a few slight changes to this deck since I took it to a locals on Saturday. And if you were watching my stream, by the way, follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/winnerkills, link to that down in the description below. But I did a live tournament report, and I talked about how I did pretty well with the deck. There was one slight misplay that pretty much cost me from going undefeated, and that ended up being against Subterror. This hand actually pretty nice, though. We're going to do a mix of going first and second because I feel like this deck can really kind of thrive going either or, but this is our going first hand, and then our 6th card becomes Draconet, which is actually really good. We have a Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, so let's say we are going to go second, and we'll assume that our opponent just has 1 card for us to work with. Again, if they only have 1 card, they're already in a really bad spot as is, so let's go ahead and Ghost Ogre them. Let's say we hit probably maybe a Servant or something, or a multi-roll, who knows. This is a card that I'm iffy on. I don't know if I'm going to keep playing it, but it does seem like it's pretty good against some certain matchups. But real quick, I'll give a quick turn report. I took this deck, and I made some changes to the main deck since the profile, and that was adding in 2 Ogre, 2 Ash, and a 3rd Ibly. I've dropped Ibly down to 2, added a Vrom back in, and I think that's like the only changes I made. I also cut this down to 2 and cut Dark Ruler No More for Nibiru. So I guess those are the other changes that I made. But I played Cosmo round 1, 1-2-1, played Sky Striker round 2, 1-2-1, and played Subterror round 3, lost 1-2, and then or lost 2-1, and then round 4 I was supposed to play against Pendulum Guard Dragon, but we just split the difference and you know, split the credit like that. But yeah, let's go ahead and continue here and just go second, like I was saying. Probably with this hand, we have Ibly, we have Draconet. If we were worried about Nibiru, we could start a turn off by just normaling the Ibly and just linking this off into Link Disciple and giving them the Ibly and seeing how they react to that. Because this card is very interesting when you're like not going into Mermaid and they don't see the Mermaid. They kind of just let it go through, and that gives you a free column, and they're also unable to special summon anything other than Link monsters, so it stops things like Ray from floating, or against like Cosmo, for example, is a deck that I played against, from floating into bigger ships or smaller ships. It's just a really good card all around. It also stops Nibiru dead in his tracks because they can't special summon it because it's not a Link monster. But let's go ahead and do the Draconet combo here. Like I said, we could have started with Instant Fusion and gone for, per se, like Thousand Eyes Restrict, and just go ahead and steal a monster or whatever they have, and then we could just link this off or just leave it until we decided to maybe link it off just before we even go into Link Rebo, I guess. But we're just gonna go into Link Rebo anyways, because why not get that into the graveyard and all set up? So we'll link that off and put the Link Rebo over here. I'm also playing a lot more Link 1s in the deck. I'm playing things like the Link Spider, Link Disciple, Almirage, Link Rebo, just because there's a lot of really, like, a lot of times where they come up to be able to, link, like if you normal an Ash, you can just link an Almirage and give you a column, or like things like that, or Ably, or Draconet. Just, there's tons of situations where it does come in handy. So we've got this set up here. Let's go ahead and search a card. We could add Memory, or we could add Secrets. I'm going to go ahead and add Secrets here, because we can add Memory later as a possibility. Now, with this hand, we basically got our Link 2 setup, but we don't have a Mekk-Knight on board. So we can't go into a card like Morningstar yet, which I actually ordered German Morningstars. I don't know why. I just did, but because I guess I'm going to start making this deck foreign in some sense, I guess. But yeah, we're going to set a card. Let's say they have one card for us to work with, and this is not a very unlikely situation. We can special summon this here, and then link these two off into our Morningstar. Now, it's fine if we have it underneath this Link Rebo here. It just means that we've, like, gotten rid of a card that they have through the Thousand Eyes Restrict, so that's entirely fine. Of course, we're not going to use the effect here. We're going to use the effect of the Ib, and we're going to summon out Lee the World Chalice Fairy, and that is going to activate to add us the World Legacy World Chalice on summon. And again, like, this card is another example why I like playing Almirage, because you can just normal this, get your search, and then link this away into Almirage and give yourself something in the extra monster zone to make a column. So that's one reason I went with that. Now from here we can leave the Link Rebo. Or no, we could leave the Lee the World Chalice Fairy, or we can leave or get rid of these two for another Morningstar. I guess I'm just going to get rid of these, because I don't want another non-Mekk-Knight on the field that's going to be, like, in a different column, because I want a column to be able to negate something in. So we'll summon this here and ditch that. And it really doesn't matter if the Morningstar isn't in the extra monster zone. It's actually just more of a bonus that we have the Morningstar, and the Link Rebo. So we'll take that for sure. So now we can set the memory. We could set the key for a bluff if we wanted to, but we don't have to. Now for next turn, we have the ability to banish this to be able to search any World Legacy card. Not only do we have that, but we have the ability to negate tons of monster effects. To be honest, we could have grabbed Whispers here as well to be able to negate spells as well. Because what's going to happen on their turn, we can use this to special summon the Indigo Eclipse. Negate a monster here. Use this fact to move over and negate another monster. And if they have anything else on top of that, we can flip up Memory to summon out either another Indigo to negate another monster, or possibly two more monster effects. Or we could just summon out Purple Nightfall to negate another monster effect, like over here or something, if they've managed to get around the two Indigo negates. And then end phase, if they don't clear this or they try to clear this, we can just chain, get a search of Blue Sky, and then we have Blue Sky in our hand for next turn, while at the same time having, gotten a negate. And then if they have anything sort of lingering on their field that could pose a threat, next turn we draw for turn, draw into Nibiru, it doesn't matter at this point. And then this can just sort of return back wherever we want to turn something off for that turn, just by returning it to the standby phase. It's not a special summon, so they can't stop it with something like, I guess for an example would be like Vanity's Fiend, because it's not a special summon, it's just returning back to the field. That summon can't be negated with like a warning, I guess is how I would put it. So yeah, that was a pretty productive test hand. Like I said, I'm going to be talking about like other things and ideas that I want to incorporate in here. And one of those ideas was dropping Call by the Grave for Mind Control, because that Catskill regional list, again, shout out to that guy and congratulations for doing so well with the deck. I noticed he wasn't playing Call by, and I was thinking about actually dropping my Call bys for Mind Controls and just adopting the, not really adopting, but just adding more to that going second punch. His list wasn't playing Draconet or Ibly, which I personally find a little off-putting, but again, to each their own, and if it's, suits his play style, it's fine. I think I really like having the option of Ibly and Draconet, because if you do have to go first, you do have like a really strong play, especially if it's game one and you have to go first, that unexpected, having to go first. I like that, and like even going second, having Ibly and Draconet are pretty good cards for bait, because most of the time the thing you're trying to resolve the most is like your Morningstar or your blue sky, because those generate you the most resources. Blue sky can get you up to 3 searches, which are basically going to secure the game at that point, or you know, your Morningstar setting up your grave and getting you cards back, all while doing that. So let's draw into another hand here. We'll do going second again, and this hand is already looking very, very promising off the bat, and our 6th card is Draconet. So I like that. I like that. And as it stands, I think the amount of normal summons I'm playing are just 2 Draconet, 2 Ibly, and 1 of Rom. So that's 5 normal summons, and I'm playing 2 copies of Cyanide Mining to be able to search said normal summons. But in a situation like, let's say we were going first and we had like no other normal summons but this Ash Blossom, we could normally Ash, make Almirage, set that succession, special summon this, link, ditch the blue sky, and grab secrets. And that way we have the 2 negates and protection from battle, you know, battle damage and just destruction by battle off the bat, just like that. We did have to sacrifice an Ash, which is unfortunate, but at least it got our engine going. But we can definitely say we Ashed them, because we did have that in our opening 5. And then from here, we could normal the Avram, link it into Link Spider if we wanted to get a column going, or we could just start with the Draconet and just go into Ibly. And not go into Ibly, but go into Crown by the World Chalice. And now from here, because when I was actually playing against Striker, I set a Dark Ruler No More in the same column that Shizuku was in. He chained MST, and then I set a Whispers. Summoned purple, purple went through, summoned blue, blue went through, summoned this went through, and he let me get this out, and then he let me synchro into the Ib, and on the summon of the Ib, he negated the Ib with the Widow Anchor that he searched, which didn't hurt that much, because I was still able to get a mech on board. So let's say our Ib summon gets negated. We're still like in a pretty good spot as it stands, because let's say that same situation, and they've got that 1 extra monster over here. It might be Shizuku, who knows. We'll set Succession, and we'll special summon Blue Sky over here and get ourselves a search of Purple Nightfall. Then Purple Nightfall can go in later. And then from here, we'll link these off and go into the Morningstar. So now, like, this is like how good this card is in here, because it searches World Legacy stuff, but most of your Mekk-Knight support is all World Legacy stuff. Like, it can grab World Legacy Guard Dragon, sure, for you know, Guard Dragon plays. But like, there's so many like World Legacy cards that suit the Mekk-Knight strategy so well. This is why this card just feels like it fits perfectly into this deck the most. Yeah, so the fact that the summon effect got negated, it doesn't matter. So long as we have another Mekk-Knight to combo along with it and get into Morningstar, we're really in a good position. And if we're worried about getting like this negated, we could Chainlink block, or if we were worried about the Ib getting negated, we could Chainlink block with the Morningstar, or vice versa, the Ib with the Morningstar. But we're going to summon the Lee, and then Lee is of course going to add this. I've got a super rare one of these on the way. I asked around at locals for this card in super rare, and like nobody had it apparently. Super unfortunate. Everybody got it confused with the super rare World Legacy, World Crown, and Lance that came out in the tins, which I actually have those on the way as well. So we still have the set Succession. So let's go ahead and link off into another Morningstar, and then we'll use Morningstar's effect here to ditch this. And at this point, this is another reason why the Ib engine I think is so great, because it's allowing us to keep our hand advantage, because our discard fodder we're just getting through doing our normal combo, which is of course super productive. So now we lost the effect here to be able to add another card, but here we're still going to be able to grab our secrets. They negated the Ib, and Ib is a pretty hot card right now, so it's not surprising that card's probably going to get ashed, Widow Anchored, and Permanence. It doesn't surprise me that much. And another thing about the looming threat, the ever-impending looming threat of the Nibiru. With this turn so far, we've special summoned, we summoned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, I believe. So first it was the Draconet, then it was this, then it was this, that was 3, and then it was the Blue Sky as 4, and then it was the Morningstar as 5. So the first Morningstar is your 5th summon, and after that you're just going to have Lee as your 6th, and then your 7th summon is going to be this. So even if they are going to Nibiru you, they're only ever going to do it for 1 or 2 monsters, and you don't really care if this gets tributed, because you still get that effect on summon, because that tributing effect doesn't negate it. So you're still getting this into the grave, you're still getting your searches off, like, it doesn't matter. Like, Nibiru is, like, pretty much a non-factor against this deck. Unless you're going like for a full OTK board, then you have to kind of watch out. But other than that, it's pretty resistant to it, surprisingly. And another thing is, like, you can actually like negate Dark Ruler no more with this deck as well, because it says you can't activate monster effects in response, but if you time it correctly and you have like a secrets and a whispers set, or a whispers and a memory set, you can just chain the two non-monster effects and to summon out Indigo in the same column that Dark Ruler no more is, and then, you know, whispers will resolve, negating the Dark Ruler because you didn't use a monster effect in response to it. You used a spell or trap. But then from here, we could set this here or whatever to give ourselves a column, banish that, get ourselves a search of, per se, like a red moon or a yellow star. Let's go ahead and grab yellow star. Say we need to clear a back row or something, we can just, you know, banish the blue sky, pop something, swing in for some damage if we want. And again, Nibiru here, we're just getting Nibiru for 2. It's just not that big of a deal. Yeah, and as it stands, like, we could succession back something else. We could succession back this, which has a pretty nasty effect, where if they go into the extra deck, you can just tribute this and send it to the grave, and this gets put back in the graveyard for future plays. We still have Indigo and a Vrom in our hand for next turn. Like, we could summon out the Indigo if we had the room to, and possibly, you know, succession back, you know, like the Ib or the Morningstar for lots of more damage, like, and potentially go for a game. And this is a really good follow-up for next turn anyways. We can make Link Spider with it, and link possibly into, like, you know, another, you know, Morningstar, or we could just link this and this for Spectrum Supreme, which is super underrated. That card just will outright steal games. Would have won me the game against Subterror and won me the match against Subterror had I, you know, not Twin Twister the wrong cards. I'll explain how that happened, I guess, as I pile shuffle here, and we're heading to our third test hand. And again, there's a lot of variables with Mekk-Knight test hands, so if things are kind of weird at some points, it's because that's why. There's a lot of variables that play into a Mekk-Knight test hand, where you have to think, like, how many cards does your opponent has, you know, what's the ideal thing that's going to get negated, things like that. So I just want to point that out. But yeah, it basically came down to him having a flipped up Gozen, which this deck really doesn't care too much about because everything is, you know, mainly light. All your Mekk-Knights are light, so that's really all you care about. If other engines get shut off, it doesn't matter too much. He had a Gozen and a There Can Be Only One, and I twinned both of those instead of hitting the 2 other unknowns or hitting an unknown in his field spell. Because the other unknowns ended up being a Judgment and another There Can Be Only One. I should have just gone for those since I was pretty much under no threat from the other floodgates, even though I just kind of panicked and hit him with the Twin Twister. And then ultimately lost me the game because he had Judgment for my Spectrum Supreme later. And my plan was to have that column open, and it would have been if that card was gone. And I had a dead instant fusion here that I was just going to send to summon another Morningstar over here, clear his final battle, and swing directly for 3k, which would have been game 100%. Now with this hand, we can play it out as we're going first. Yeah, let's mix it up and play it out like we're going first. So even if we didn't have Signet Mining, we could still like normal the Ogre and, you know, going for Almirage and then summon Indigo and just go from there. And have still a negate, or 2 negates, because we have succession to discard. But let's go with Signet Mining. Let's go ahead and discard the succession. And then we could also say we have Call by the Grave for their Ash, because that's a very reasonable thing to think. If we were worried about like Nibiru or this being particularly good in a certain matchup, we could go for Ibli. I'm just going to go for Draconet, because most of the time Draconet is a bit better. I mean, it depends on how much like depends on what you're playing against. If you've gotten Nibiru previously in the match, like going for Ibli is probably a bit better. It also depends on like what Mekk-Knights you have in your hand. So like if we had Blue Sky, I would probably 100% go for Ibli. If we had Purple or Indigo, I guess I would go for the Draconet, just because this can turn into 2 negates a lot easier with the Draconet. But yeah, let's normal summon this. Let's go for the where is it? There's 2 normal monsters in this deck now. But both play a pivotal role. And one other thing I was talking about earlier with the Almirage, like if we open this in a pretty bad hand, or like this in a Mekk-Knight and any other spell or trap, we can still make Mekk-Knight plays because we can just normal this and make Almirage, which I actually did in the tournament. And it did come up and help to you know, unbrick my hand or make it playable, I guess. So we'll have this go through, and then we'll add secrets. Or we could add memory, I guess. Let's add memory, because this will actually allow us to get access to purple later this turn. Well, I guess I say that now, but we don't really have anything else to set. So let's just go ahead and grab memory later. I guess we can grab secret now. I guess that would be much... I guess, yeah, that's a much better thing to do. Because if we play memory later, or now, we can't get the summon off of the IB, which will be kind of crucial. We want that. So let's set the secrets there, and then we'll link these into Morningstar. Of course, we don't need to use the discard effect. We're just going to use the summon effect. We're going to go for Lee, the World Chalice Fairy. I could find him in here. And let me just see. There's Lee, so we'll use his effect to add the World Chalice. There it is. Shuffle the deck there. And we'll go ahead and link these two. And now we're going to use the effect of Morningstar discard. Now, it really all just depends on what we want to go along with this. If we value more monster negates, we can go with the memory. If we value having spells and monsters to negate, we can go with whispers. So let's just go with whispers here. So as it stands, and like I said earlier, we could have gone with memory right here and just resolve a purple to have that come back next turn, which is a very minimal field, but it's still better than, you know, most boards. With that opening hand, if like we didn't have Draconet or if we didn't have anything else, it's hard to replicate getting all these resources with something like a From or like a Rescue Rabbit play. You just don't get those generated searches like you do here. Because as it stands, next turn we can use secrets to summon this out, and then if they play a spell in the same zone, we can just surprise us here or move it over to negate a spell. We also have a Ghost Ogre in our hand still to you know, disrupt their plays a little bit. I think I would have just gone with memory and set the memory because we're still going to resolve purple. We don't really need to resolve purple on this turn. If we can resolve it on their turn, it's fine, and also get an additional monster negate. I think that's okay too. So that's just a little thing I wanted to mention there. But yeah, that was pretty productive test hand. I mean, not the most flashy plays happening, but you don't need to have flashy plays when you can get your you know, your 2 or 3 monster or even 4 monster negates that easily. And a lot of decks are going to have a hard time playing around 4 monster negates turn 1. Especially like if you get to go first, like you're going to set that up no problem. And if you do get to go second, like you're already at an advantage if you go second, because your opponent's going to have cards in play which are going to make it inherently easier for you to summon your Mekk-Knights. And speaking of, you know, giving you know, your opponent giving you advantage by playing the game simply, you know, just by putting cards on the board, that is just giving you an advantage. But it's actually ironic that we drew this card because I wanted to mention something about it. Because per se, let's say we're going second with this hand, and this is our opening hand, which is pretty good. But let's say like we didn't have the sign up mining. Like let's say the sign up mining gets like ashed or whatever. We go for sign up mining, this gets ashed. Oh no. That really sucks. So now we have to like make do with what we have, or that's an ash out of the way, or you know, whatever else it may be that can stop the sign up mining. But now let's say they only have 1 column for us to work with, right? We special summon the blue, or we even need just to set this to get the blue effect to resolve, be able to get it on the board. We can go grab Purple Nightfall, but it's great that we've got Purple Nightfall to our hand, but we can't do anything else. Like our turn is slowed down. Or let's say we didn't have a Vrom in our hand. We could search a Vrom here. And normally a Vrom, make Morningstar, discard this, add the secrets. So this card actually is pretty pivotal in some situations. I did cut it because I thought I didn't need it. But like, again, looking back to that profile, the first place Catskill profile, like it inspired me a bit. And also like, just made me realize the thing that I've realized before, like how good this card is. I just put Purple Nightfall back into the deck on accident. Let me go grab that. But yeah, so now as it stands, if they have no other columns for us to work with, and we have no other way to get in the extra monster zone, we have to normal summon this, and then we link into Morningstar, just like that. Now we can use Morningstar's effect, and I think we will, because we'll discard the yellow sky, and again, if we need it, we don't have to discard it. It's just as simple as that. We'll add secrets here. And we don't have access to Indigo yet, but that's completely fine, because we could just set this here, and special this, and go ahead and search the Indigo by banishing this. And then we can put the Indigo on board right here. Now, having Indigo already on board when you have secrets alive is pretty nice, because you can just revive something else out of grave, and like I think it just gives you more room to do things. Because normally it's just like summon negate, move over negate, but now it's like this is already in the field to negate, and like as it stands, we could probably just slide this over before we end our turn, because right now this is just one column that Mekk-Knights are in, so now we can just make it 2 columns, and now we can special summon one of these during their turns, get another negate, and then another negate, so it's just kind of like piles on a bit more like that, and then we have the succession for a follow-up next turn. And the purple nightfall coming back, and we're drawing another blue sky for turn, which is really good. So I love playing 3 blue sky because I felt like 2 was just not enough, because there were plenty of times late game, especially playing against Subterror and grinding against that deck, where I really wish I had the 3rd blue sky, and it did come up like quite a few times going to grab that 3rd blue sky to resolve and try to bait out negates, because you just don't want blue sky to go through. That's one thing you kind of always want to stop. So let's go ahead and shuffle the deck and draw into another test hand here. This is probably going to be the last one since this video is going pretty long. And that is a really good hand. Let's go ahead and go second with this one. We open Instant Fusion. We haven't drawn into Nibiru yet, which is fine. But now, again, as it stands, we have an Ogre that we could have resolved because that was in our opening 5. We do have Instant Fusion, which is good to bait something out. And we do have Call by the Grave, which is really good as well. So we could start off with Instant Fusion and go ahead and play the Thousand Eyes Restrict and try to take something, and then link off into Link Karibo, which again, we're already in a really good spot because we have an extra monster zone taken and be able to use advantage and gain advantage off of. Now, one thing we could do here is special this by setting... I guess if we're going second, we could, play off if they have a card here. And special summon this here, and then link into Morningstar, and then normal the Draconet and go from there. But let's just normal Draconet here and just go for Ibly. It's going to be sort of similar to that first test hand we did, where we have that extra card on our board. But it makes things a little weird, but not so much weird that it like actually ends up mattering. So yeah, let's go ahead and now Synchro. Go for Ib, activate Ib's effect. We'll go ahead and grab a copy of Whispers or Succession, like if we want to put more damage on. So let's go ahead and grab Succession here, actually, because we can revive something back. This is one reason why I thought about maybe playing a generic Link 2 for this situation, to link these off, because now we have to get another Mekk-Knight on board before we do anything else. But as it stands, we could just set the Succession, or say special summon the Indigo, and then link these off into Morningstar, and then use not Morningstar's effect, but Ib's effect. Summon out. We're gonna add the Lee, but let me just go ahead and add the Chalice. I'm getting the names mixed up. Let's go ahead and add the Lee, or special the Lee, just like that. This will add this on the summon, and then we'll link these off and do a second Morningstar, like that. Pitch, search. And then we could add these secrets for a backup, or we could add key if we were worried about traps, which is a very real thing to be worried about. And now as it stands, we still have a copy of Memory, which is going to allow us to play even more, because we can get purple out of the deck, and that can just go anywhere to sort of jumpstart our plays. Use this, banish that to add a copy of the Blue Sky, and this is still during their turn, of course. Then we could summon this in that column over here and go ahead and search another Mekk-Knight. We'll go ahead and add the Red Moon. Or we could add the Yellow Star if you wanted to, clear back row, but let's go ahead and add Red Moon. It's like that. Add that like that. This will go to the grave. We're locked into only Mekk-Knights for the rest of the turn, but that does not matter too much. Now, as it stands, we could summon a Boral Sword right now, which we might as well just go ahead and do. Go ahead and link all those off for Boral Sword or Boral Load if we were worried about, trying to secure exact game. Set this, special this, use Succession, go ahead and special summon out the Indigo Eclipse, and right then and there, we have game, 100%. We can use this effect if we need to clear another monster, or we can use Indigo to move him to any column to pop any monster anywhere, and we have that Blue Sky engraved to banish. We still have a call by, and we still have this follow-up for next turn to be able to revive this if we want to send anything they summon from the extra deck to the grave, or we could summon a Mekk-Knight. I guess this would really be our only target if we don't, if we use the Red Moon. If we don't use the Red Moon, we have a Blue Sky that we can revive If not, we still have this, or just flipping this up in general to make the negates live. It's still a pretty solid board. Still have a call by, which I would consider a good interruption in of itself, because it can, come in clutch to stop your opponent from trying to come back, other than just negating, of course, hand traps. So I think that's going to do it for this test hand video. I went a bit more in depth, went a little bit slower, but I wanted to sort of make this test hand video a bit different than others, since I'm really trying to hone in on this deck. And not only am I trying to get better at it with it, but I'm helping other people get better at this deck and learn it. I'm definitely not the best Mekk-Knight player to exist. I don't think that is 100% true, nor is it even debatable probably. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed nonetheless. Leave a like if you did enjoy, and check out the link to Imperium Duelist down in the description below. And follow me on Twitch and join Discord as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, want to kill signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one.